Hey everyone, welcome to the Infinite Binge. We are talking about Stranger Things 2, Episode 7, The Lost Sister. I'm Jake, and who else is here?
Kevin,
And Andrew.
I don't know if I'm ever going to get used to it just being called Stranger Things 2. That still just throws me off every time.
But that's what it's called. It's got that big 2
I
behind it.
I know. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Well, they probably wanted to call it, make it a plural of, alien to aliens, but it's already called Stranger Things.
Stranger Things is
Stranger Things is? Things
Strangers.
die?
Strangers Things.
They could have named it even Stranger Things.
Strangest Things.
Yeah, strange. Well, no, because then
That's-
what if there's
that-
even stranger in a future season?
See, Strangest Things needs to be the last one.
Well, then the first season should have been called Strange Things. Right?
Sure. Although it's stranger than other things.
That's true.
So yeah, even Stranger Things wouldn't fit. Stranger Things 2, Strange Harder. Things Stranger. Strangerer.
Stranger Things 2, Back in the Habit.
Stranger Things 2, Electric Strangeloo.
Stranger Things 2, The Quickening.
Stranger Things 2, This Time It's Personal.
Hey, that's a tagline. So we should probably jump right into this, right?
I guess
this
so.
episode. So as we
This
left off, we were super excited because the last episode had a cliffhanger. Looked like we were gonna get some monsters attacking the DOE. And this episode
was a huge middle finger.
Not the follow-up to that giant cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's should we just go right into it? Should I do my John Machetta impression?
You do you.
Okay, so Elle explains what she saw to Becky. She keeps seeing the girl in the room. Terry keeps a file of other missing kids. She sees Callie/8. Elle can't find her at first, but is able to later. She goes to tell Becky, but Becky is on the phone with someone telling them about Elle. Elle takes off. There's Action News 8 on the TV, which is kind of cool because there is like an actual Channel 8 in Indianapolis. So anyway, so Elle is taking the bus to Chicago because she's a little runaway. Daddy's little girl learned fast all the things she couldn't say. Mouth breather makes a comeback. She calls the guy mouth breather when she bumps into him after the bus. She finds him. Axel is a terrible dancer. Callie and Elle bond. Elle can find people with only a picture. She wants to do another tomorrow. Elle reaches out in her dream circle and hears Hopper. Callie wakes Elle and introduces her to her friends properly. They're killing former lab personnel, power training through channeling her anger. Elle finds their target and gets a bitchin' makeover. They knock over a gas station. They arrive at the place. Elle doesn't see anyone else in the apartment. He's watching TV. Ray doesn't remember them or them as kids. Ray seems to think that Brenner is still alive. He offers to take them to him. Elle starts to force choke him. There are kids in the apartment. They call the cops. Elle doesn't want to kill him. They get away as the cops arrive. Meanwhile, back at the hideout, Callie recounts how she used her gifts to escape the lab. Brenner appears before Elle's. The cops are on their way. They're surrounding the hideout. Elle remembers all of the people. She sees Hopper and Mike in the dream circle. The police are breaching the hideout. Callie makes them hide in plain sight. And then outside, she erects a wall. Elle and Callie part ways. They cannot save Elle, but Elle can save them. Elle tells the lady on the bus that she's going home. And scene.
That's
Bravo.
Good job.
Bravo.
Great job. That's pretty much all the time I think we need to spend on this. This episode was not good at all.
Why?
It was
Why
terrible.
did they do it? Ugh.
I think we've kind of discussed this a little bit amongst ourselves before recording. This feels like it was a pilot for something else.
Yeah, it was a backdoor pilot. It seemed like they didn't know what to do with Elle this season, so they did this, and they're like, what if we shoehorned Elle into a backdoor pilot so that she has nothing to do for the rest of the season, and then she can do this for one episode?
Well, or it's like they wrote themselves into a corner when they had Callie in the opening, or Callie in the opening scene of the show, and then they're like, oh, I guess we have to do something with that. It just felt so out of place.
I did like the foreshadowing with the Action News 8 thing. It would have been even better if this was episode 8.
It would, because we have seen episode 8 at this point, and episode 8 is better than this episode.
Oh, by far. Now, question, did you, because obviously they're gonna like come up or something like that in a future season, but I gotta be honest, I did not like a single character that was introduced.
You didn't like Mr. Mohawk?
No.
About, what was it? Mr. Funshine? The big teddy bear guy?
Kevin, I for one am shocked that you didn't like this band of murderers.
Yeah, they were so fun. Yeah, I felt like, on a lot of the Netflix shows, for most of them, I'd say, there usually seems to be like one episode where it's like, yeah, that didn't really need to be there. You could have cut that out. This was far and above that episode for this show. That didn't need to exist whatsoever.
So, do we want to go ahead and just get right into episode 8 then?
Yeah, sure. We'll make this a 2-for-1 special. Episode 8, titled The Mind Flayer.
And now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
This episode is pretty good, guys.
Episode was very good.
One might say it's the best episode of the series.
I don't know, I was pretty fond of episode 6.
Well,
that was really good too.
The episode, as we will discover, does reveal the true hero of the series.
Yeah, it's not Billy. And not Billy's dad.
No.
Steve?
Definitely Steve.
Close.
Bob?
But not quite. Yup. Bob.
Burke. We should probably just get right into this one, right?
Go for it.
So the episode opens right where episode 6 left off. And they're climbing, the monsters, they don't have a name at this point. The Demigorgon-like things are climbing up. But then they're pounding on the glass, but it's polycarbonate, so they can't get through.
Or can they?
They can. They can. They get through.
This kind of reminds me, are you aware with like some of Arthur C. Clarke's like laws of like storytelling and science fiction? Like if any scientist says that something cannot be done, he is almost certainly wrong.
Yeah.
And if a scientist says that something can be done, they're almost certainly right. I think that was Arthur C. Clarke. I could be wrong.
Either way, it's a fairly, that sounds like a pretty true statement.
Yep.
Especially here because they break through.
Yeah,
and they
start
killing everyone.
Yes, everyone. They clear out the basement. The creatures start to go for everyone else. And Mike wants to knock Will out because he's a spy. Mike's got the right idea. But Will is fighting them. And they gotta go, and then all the power in the lab goes out. And then it cuts to Max's mom and stepdad arriving home, and they notice that Max is gone. And Billy's dad is kind of a jerk. And by kind of, I mean he's a super jerk.
Yeah. He's not a fun guy.
Like, I can't even say that I think he means well.
Oh no, definitely not.
Well,
he's a bad dude.
He's a bad dude. I mean, I would maybe say he means well, but he does it in the worst possible way.
Like, you can tell that Max's mom is upset by the situation. Like, even the way he is acting, she is upset by that, but she's like also upset by the fact that like no, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And watch Max. And we also get the patented 80s homophobic remarks. So you can tell when something's set in the 80s, they like to throw bandy words about all willy-nilly.
Yeah, pretty much anything set in the 80s has it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Especially if it was filmed in the 80s.
Yeah.
I like the way that the Final Girls handled it, if you remember that.
I remember watching the movie, but I don't remember exactly how. Was it like all the the characters like who are from who now, quote unquote now, were like appalled.
Yeah, one of the characters was there, and like got in his face about it. Basically, for those that don't know, The Final Girls is like it's about an 80s like slasher movie that people from present day get sucked into. So then they're there with the characters in the movie. It's entertaining. It's a good time. You guys should watch The Final Girls.
Yeah, that's good.
But back to this episode. What happened next?
So Dart has malted.
Right.
Malted.
He's a milk ball.
He's a whopper. So yeah, basically it's Lucas, Dustin, Max, and Steve. They're all walking and kind of doing the whole making everyone on the same page thing. Steve lets it slip that Dart ate Muse, and that kind of precipitates an argument between Dustin and Lucas. And then Steve kind of hears something, and he's over the arguing and fighting. And then they move towards the sound of the Demogorgons. And Max is kind of like, why are you moving towards it? And then they kind of notice that the sounds are in the direction of the lab. And then we get to see Burke trying to help plan the escape. And I find it really odd that Bob Newby's superhero seems to know a lot about how the automated locks in the Hawkins lab work. But
he knows basic.
He knows basic.
God, basic. Oh my god.
I at least I used to know basic.
Every time I see basic now, like every time I see Visual Basic, I just groan, and it's like the only thing I can really think to myself is, well, now I have to clean this up.
Well, Visual Basic is way better than basic.
Oh my god, Visual Basic is the worst.
It's better than basic.
Oh my god, it's all bad.
It's all bad. It's all kind of the worst.
I had to learn basic in high school, and then Visual Basic. No, and then Q Basic.
You had to learn that in high school?
Yeah.
Ooh,
my high school didn't have good computers, so we had to learn all the stuff that the computers could handle. Considering the computers didn't have hard drives.
That's the worst.
Yeah, but then like the next semester they got upgraded computers, and then we were learning Pascal.
You know that Fortran is still in use, especially in like financial institutions, because it's very good for that.
And nothing else.
Pretty much.
Hello and welcome to the Programming Language Podcast,
where
we talk about all the languages.
So yeah, but then Jonathan and Nancy make it to the lab perimeter, and that's at that point they kind of run into Steve and company.
Yeah, they get startled as they're coming out of the woods. But then we go back to the man, the myth, the legend. Bob has been sent down. He's making his way to the breakers while they're all watching him on the their little CRTs. And he's going by, bunch of dead people, getting startled by some steam shooting, the classic steam shooting out of a pipe. Because, what building doesn't have that happen? But then he gets down there, flips the breakers, everything starts coming back on. And then Bob does his magic, gets all the doors unlocked. Everything's, looking good at this point. And a Demogorgon thing starts making his way, so he sets off the sprinklers to distract it. Because, Bob's a smart dude.
Bob's the best.
He is the best.
He's pretty good.
If only he just had some coax cables with him, it would have been golden.
Some vampire taps?
Yeah. So, but then we, everything's all set. Burke tells the others to go because he's going to guide Bob out. He's going to watch him, help him get out. And, it shows Bob leave, and, it shows him, because in a bit of unfortunate foreshadowing, it shows the pistol he was given by Hopper, or that they pulled off one of the security guys. Bob forgot it on the table. So as Bob's going down the hallway, Burke has him hide in a closet because Demogorgon shows up, and Demogorgon goes by Bob gets out, and of course the classic, he knocks. Did it do? Am I misremembering? Did it do like the slow motion of it falling and hitting
It
the
did.
ground? It did.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it does. Was it a mop? I think the end of a mop or a broom or something. Slow motion hits the ground, and then that's
And then
when
it shows the Demogorgon's head turn around real fast.
yeah. So shit just hit the fan for him, and so he's running. Things chasing him down, and then they get to the lobby. Joyce is waiting
and he makes
for
it,
him.
and he's safe, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
made
He
it out.
looks. He
And-
gets
and
the
then-
door closed,
And then they all live happily ever after.
I wish. And then he gets hit by one, and then a few others show up, and they just go to town on Bob.
If he would have just kept running when he saw him, just ran to them and out of the building, he would have been all right. But he had to stop and smile.
Well, that's what good guys do. They smile.
Yeah, it's courteous. By the way, am I crazy in thinking that Burke guiding him out over the radio was kind of like, while watching the cameras, was kind of like a reference to Aliens?
Did that happen in Aliens? It's been a while since I've seen Aliens.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it was mostly Ripley doing it, but Burke was there too.
And there were times at this point where I was wondering if he was going to try to direct him into one of the Demogorgons.
So that he could get
so he could
impregnated by one.
Well, no, so that Burke could get out himself. But that didn't happen. He was a good guy.
He was good guy Burke.
The rarest of all Burks.
I love that I don't actually know the character's name.
Yeah, he's just good guy Burke. That's what you gotta call him.
It's actually Owens, but we don't care.
No,
Good guy Burke.
don't tell me. I don't want to know.
It's Burke.
Yeah, it's Burke.
But then cut to the buyer's place. Hopper calls for help. And we find out that Bob was the founding member of the Hawkins AV Club. Because of course he was.
Of course.
Well, he was a
What a
superhero.
guy.
And then we get a name for these new Demogorgons. Called
Demodog.
Demodogs. Demodogs, Demogorgon, dogs, Demodogs.
So, I know this probably won't mean anything to either of you, because I doubt either of you watched The Fairly Odd Parents. But for anyone listening who did, when they said Demodog, that made me think of that show, because there was a character who his name, like the name of the town was Dimsdale or something, and so he would say dim things all the time, like he had his Dimmadome, and I kept thinking about that when they kept saying Demodogs.
I am surprised that you think that the rest of us have not seen the adventures of Timmy and his parents, his fairy godparents.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm just saying, just in case, if not.
I've seen very little of it, so it's okay.
I haven't seen any of it. But we also get a name of the big bad of the season. It's called the Mind Flayer, which is also the title of the episode. I really like the scene where they name it, because the kids are all like saying, "No, it's in the D&D book," and they're like, "We can't just be going by some dumb game." And then they're like, "Well, how does the book say to kill him?" And it says, "Well, we need zombies."
Yeah,
We don't know. It's just a game.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of the first season when it's like, how do you get into the Upside Down? Well, you cast Shadow Walk.
Yeah. But yeah, Will would know his weakness, but we can't ask Will because Will's a spy.
But wait a second, Will can't spy if he doesn't know where he is.
Right. So they start converting the shed into an interrogation room and try to make it unidentifiable to him. And Dustin apologizes to Lucas. And then we get a building montage. Two lights.
Yeah,
they wake up Will.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was thinking about that episode of The Next Generation with Picard. There are four lights. Because I saw two, and I was like, because you could see where he was in relation to it, and there are. Anyway, go see that episode. Look it up or something. Yeah, they wake Will up with is that like ammonia or like vinegar or something?
Yeah, I think it was ammonia. I'm not sure.
Maybe bleach.
Could be.
But Will starts freaking out on him. And then kind of he's let me go. And like there are a couple times where it almost sounds like his voice changes. But I don't know if it's just because he's wailing so much. And I can't, it's really hard to overestimate how good the actor that plays Will plays like this entire season.
Yeah, and it's kind of for just to add to that, like especially since that first season he really wasn't in it much at all.
Yeah, it's like I don't feel like I know the character. I still don't feel like I know the character particularly well, even though everyone always kind of talks about him and they tell all these stories about him, probably more so than a lot of the other characters. But I still don't feel like I know him through his own actions and his own words. But Joyce tries to kind of like connect with him and starts telling him a story about him getting these crayons for his birthday, and he drew this rainbow spaceship. And then Jonathan tells him a story about building casa buyers. And then Mike recounts the first time that they met in kindergarten when Mike asked him to be his friend. And then Hopper notices that Will is communicating, but not through words, but through Morse code. And then we get another little montage of them trying to talk to him to get more, find out, what he's trying to communicate to him. And it says, "Close gate."
Now, can I just say really quick, for such a small town, there's a shocking number of people who know Morse code, especially that one of them is a young boy.
Well, but if you think about it, if they're in AV and they do the ham radio thing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I actually didn't think about that.
So that totally seems like the type of thing that you would remember. That's one of those things that I've always wanted to like sit down and learn. Just like apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
Well, you know how to do SOS at least, right?
Yeah, it's 3 shorts, 3 longs, 3 shorts.
Yep.
The things I learned by listening to Metallica's one. I think I also know YYZ because of the song YYZ. Anyway.
Kevin, you want to take us home?
I think I will. So as they're doing this, they figure it out. The phone rings, which is no good because Will hears it. And as soon as he hears it, his spy sense is activated. So everyone's freaking out. They're all, they all rush back inside and are kind of prepared for the Demodogs to come and get them. And they have the funny scene of Hopper getting the rifle, handing it to, trying to hand it to Jonathan. And he's like, "Do you know how to use this thing?" And he's kind of apprehensive. And then Nancy goes, "I do." And so she takes it. But then they hear some rustling outside in the bushes. So they're ready. They're getting ready. And then it kind of sounds like something's happening. And then boom, flies through the window, hits the ground, dead. So after it hits the ground, they're all, what could this possibly mean? And Andrew notes here that it's probably a Sicilian message.
It means Dr. Brenner sleeps with the fishes.
Yes, the mob has shown up suddenly.
Well, I mean, hey, if anyone can take care of this problem, then I'm sure it's the mafioso.
They're going to the mattresses with the Demogorgons.
Leave the Demogorgon, take the cannoli.
But anyway, so they're all confused, and then the locks on the door start, getting undone, and they're not sure what's happening, which at this point, I mean, as a viewer, but when they were watching it, I know most of them think Ella's dead, but I feel like Hopper looked confused too, and in my mind, I would think like he should be like, "Oh, I know who this is. I know what's going on here." Because then after the door swings open, they're like they almost like get ready to attack, and then it's Elle standing there with her bitchin' look, and they're all shocked and happy, and Mike is quite quite happy now that he sees that she's actually alive. And then end scene.
When it was so like we watched these, and then like I went back and I rewatched it to do the notes, and I was surprised compared to episode 7 to episode 8. Episode 7 felt like it was interminably long, but by the time I got to the end of episode 8, I was like, oh wait, I thought there was like 20 more minutes of this at least.
Yeah.
It's a difference, like something that's good versus something that's bad.
And also, one of the things that I really need to that I really feel the need to stress and bring up is how much I really like the music in this show.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
because when they're doing the whole thing with where they're doing the building stuff, they have it's this original music, but it sounds like it totally sounds like it could be something from the 80s. It kind of has like a synthy new wave sort of sound to it a little bit, where it's like kind of beating and driving a little bit, but in like a really laid back kind of way. It's like it's really kind of cool. I really like it. I really like that. I really like the music in the first season as well, and I don't think we talked about it too much outside of like the regular like the licensed music.
Yeah, I like all the sound choices pretty much across the board that they've been making for the show. Do you guys sit through the intro, or do you hit that skip intro button?
I watch the intro every time.
Yeah, I do too, just because it's not that long.
And you get to hear that sweet synth music.
I mean, there's not many intros that I would ever want to skip through.
Oh, there are some that I skip through.
What would you say like your all-time favorite show intro is? Like a show credit sequence?
Lost.
Because it's just word Lost, is it?
It's like 5 seconds, and then there you are. But no,
Star Trek Enterprise.
Maybe The Office.
Firefly's good.
Firefly is good. Yeah, I've never really seen Enterprise as a show, but I've definitely seen the intro, and I feel like the intro to Enterprise and the intro to Firefly are kind of similar.
Yeah, but I will say, when you first start watching Enterprise, you hate the intro. By the time you're done, you love the intro.
So it's like Stockholm Syndrome with the intro.
That song grows on you.
Oh, how Dexter's no question.
That
or
Twin
Peaks.
Twin Peaks is pretty good. I really like the intro to like The Sopranos.
Yeah, true. Oh man, there are a lot. Isn't that like Sherlock is really good?
Sherlock is kind of like, I remember when. So you remember when the show Sherlock started after the Guy Ritchie, Robert Downey, and they kind of had they both had that the same musical style there. I felt that was really weird, even though they're set in like two different time periods.
I'm a little surprised no one has actually said Star Trek or Star Trek The Next Generation.
Or X-Files or The Twilight Zone.
Well, Star Trek and The Next Generation specifically because it has that cool speech.
Oh yeah, Space, the Final Frontier.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear talking though.
Yeah, you do. Don't lie, Kevin.
I'm trying to think of some other ones I really like. I really like 6 Feet Unders.
What about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I have never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
you should watch Buffy. Buffy's so good.
No, we are not doing that as our next Infinite Binge.
To get a little weeby, Cowboy Bebop had a really good intro.
I love the intro to that and the outro to that.
Yeah.
The Real Folk Blues is really cool. Like, I actually just sat down and listened to both of those.
The song itself is just really good to listen to.
Yeah, Tank and the Real Folk Blues.
Yes,
those are pretty good.
So can we agree that the Twilight Zone is the best?
I would be fine with that. I love the Twilight Zone.
It's hard to argue against it.
It's the best.
Rod Serling. Oh, I'll call him what I feel.
Is that a comment on his performance?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Let's go ahead. Okay, I just giving you an out there. Anyway,
should we wrap up?
yeah, we should wrap up.
All right, thanks for listening. Make sure you like us on YouTube and leave some comments and subscribe and share. And also listen to the All Talk podcast and the Geek Box and the Comic Conspiracy and Mock Imaginations. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.